Welcome back to the Arkansas A&M Black Bears Dynasty on NCAA Football 14, guys, a.k.a. College Football Revamped and the Bear Down Podcast. We are coming off a huge win in the BCS National Championship, beating the number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines, securing our back-to-back national championship. What a year it's been for our Black Bears, man. We had rough games at the start, a little controversy during the season, but we were able to come together as a team and finish the season strong and bring back the crystal ball to Conway. Now, in today's video, we'll look back at the season, go over the season stats, and look ahead to the offseason, because it should be a fun one. So let's look back at the season, man. What a run it was for our Bears. We kicked things off against SMU. This was Gabe Perez's first start as a college quarterback, and he helped the offense put up 69 points against the Mustangs. Then the rivalry game versus Arkansas, and this hasn't been much of a rivalry for the past couple years. We dominated 49-16. Then we took on some ranked opponents. We thought this would be a tougher matchup for us, but we handled business up in Washington, beating down the Huskies 45-14. Then came back home and took on a highly ranked Notre Dame squad and handled business 49-24. We went on to dominate the next 2 games, and then things got interesting in the middle of the season, man. We took on our rival Arkansas State, and it came down to a 2-point conversion that a tight end dropped in the back of the end zone. Then we hit the road, took on LSU, and they gave us all they could give us. We ended up getting the W 49-35. Took on a Texas squad that gave us a good fight as well, and we won that one by 5 points, 49-44. And then we just showed our dominance after that, beating down Iowa State, putting up 73 points on Kansas State, putting up 77 points on Kansas, and then going on and winning our 4th Big 12 championship in a row, 51-20 over Oklahoma. And then dominating Michigan 45-35 for our 2nd national championship. So here's a look at the final stats from this season. Gabe Perez, a monster year in his first year as a starting quarterback. 4,563 yards through the air, 38 touchdowns. He did throw 11 interceptions. We didn't know what to expect when Gabe took over. For Craig Washington, we knew that he had a strong arm, but this kid is something special, man. I literally think that he is the best quarterback that we've had in the program. Think about the guys who have been here. We've had Randy Thomas, we've had Todd Robertson, Larry Johnson, Craig Washington, but Gabe Perez's arm is just elite. He's able to make every throw. He's able to get outside the pocket if need be. I honestly think that this was his 1 year here. I think he'll declare early for the NFL draft. On the ground, Philip Fagan, I think he had a Heisman-type year. He got the short end of the stick. A lot of carries this year, 271 carries, 1,887 yards, 32 rushing touchdowns. He averaged about 7 yards per carry. Phil won every award imaginable except for the Heisman. If you look at his numbers the past 3 seasons, he's just getting better. He's just getting better. I think he will be back for his senior year. I don't think he's going to declare or anything like that, but he is our workhorse. And if Perez decides to leave early, we're going to have a quarterback competition. We're going to have to rely heavy on our run game next season. Ira Harris, second on the team with 1,002 yards, 17 touchdowns. Glad to see him go over 1,000 yards. This was a down year for him because Fagan took off. But 3 years in a row over 1,000 yards. He averaged 7 yards per carry, 17 touchdowns in his senior year. Ira was the Reggie Bush to Philip Fagan's Lindell White. I think that Ira is a deadly weapon out of the backfield as a running back and as a receiver. He's going to be a huge loss for us going into next season. Anthony Bryant got some playing time this year, 29 carries, 101 yards, 8 touchdowns. He was more of our goal line back, even though we didn't run a lot of goal line this season. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do next year. He's going to be Fagan's backup. He might get the Ira Harris touches, but he's just not that third down type back. We are hunting for a third down back. I think Marquise Powers could step into that role, but it might have to be a wide receiver. We'll take a look at that later. Gabe Perez, 82 yards for 4 touchdowns. Mike Warren, the true freshman, 53 yards and a touchdown. And then Tony Mitchell, 52 yards and a score. Out wide, man, these wide receivers did an amazing job this year. Again, we got to take our hat off to Gabe Perez. A lot of weapons, man, and he did a great job spreading the ball around. Trey Morgan, the best wide receiver in college football, 83 catches, 1,235 yards, 13 touchdowns on his senior year. He just fell short of what he did yards-wise for his junior year, but everything else just got better. He did break a lot of records, receptions in a career, receiving yards in a career, touchdowns in a career. He's going to go down as probably the greatest wide receiver to play at this school. And to think about it, man, he's been a 4-year starter. He was a 4-year starter. Again, we're losing 4 wide receivers to the NFL draft this year. Another guy, Tariq Larson, 51 grabs, 1,083, 8 touchdowns. Tariq was more of a return specialist his first few years on campus. But this season, we made it a point to show what he can do as a receiver. And, he had a breakout year. Most catches, most yards, most touchdowns. He's a deep threat. He can return kicks. In fact, let's look and see that stat. For his career, three kickoff returns for a touchdown, and then 3 punt returns for touchdowns. So just a dynamic player. Again, we're going to have to look to fill that role, man. He played a lot of different roles for this team. And losing somebody with this kind of speed, with this elite speed, it's going to be tough. True freshman Ashton Ryan stepped up big time at tight end for us, 48 grabs for 842 yards and 4 touchdowns. Probably one of the best recruiting tight ends, best recruitment of tight ends we've had since David Jones transferred into the school. I think Ashton's going to play a big role going into season 9. He can go across the middle, make catches. He's a great route runner. Look for him to play a little bit more outside as a receiver as well. But we're excited to see what his future holds here at A&M. Fred Foreman, where he's graduating as well, 35 grabs, 631, and 4 scores. The true freshman Mike Warren, 21 catches, 244, and 5 scores. He's going to be playing a big role next year in the slot. Ira, 18 catches for 154. You had Donald Thomas, 13 grabs for 199 and 2 scores. He's going to be wide receiver number 1 next year. I'm excited to see what he can do. You got James Alexander, 8 catches for 131 and a touchdown. Fagan, 6 for 50. Will Rogers, 1 catch for 3 yards. We're still trying to find a role for the big fella, man. 6'4", 251. He can play tight end still, but with Ashton Ryan getting most of the snaps, Will Rogers is kind of just falling back. Then you've got Adam Lawson, the other big tight end, 1 catch for 41 yards and a touchdown. Honestly, I think our offensive line did a great job this year, only giving up 11 sacks through 14 games. We are still kind of young. I think we've got 2 graduating seniors this year. So I know the right side of the line is probably the side that's going to have brand new starters next year. But let's take a look at the sack stats. Colin Dodd gave up 4 sacks. Drew White at left guard gave up 3. Will Horn at left tackle gave up 2. He's become one of the best left tackles in college football. He still has 1 more season to go. I'm hoping that his rating goes up a little bit because I think he could be a first-round talent. Then you've got Jim Palmer at right guard giving up a sack, and Alfred Robinson gave up a sack. That's weird, man. John Hawkins at center did not give up a sack this year, and neither did Keith Smith, our right guard. That's pretty cool. To the defense side of the ball, we go. Brian Jones just went crazy this year. 127 tackles, by far the most tackles of his career. And he won every defensive award you could think of. He had 33 TFLs, 7 sacks, 2 interceptions, 6 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, and I think he had a safety as well. Listen, this dude was the captain of our defense. He led us the entire way. Again, it's a big position that we're going to have to fill, man. We've got a couple guys that could play inside, but are they going to have the same, maturity and leadership that Brian Jones had this year? Nick Ginn, 69 tackles on the year, 8 TFLs. We're still waiting for him. Oh, he did have a pick this year. He had a pick. He also had a scoop and score. I'm waiting for him to get, I want him to have 3, 4, 5 interceptions on the season. Talking about stepping up big time, man. Bill Jennings, the senior corner, 66 tackles, 4 TFLs, and he led the country with 8 interceptions. We decided to put Bill at the starting position towards the end of the season last year, and he really showed that he is a better outside corner than he is as playing on the inside. And this year he just took off. Teams were trying to pick on him. He would give up a few big plays, but then he would make them pay for him. I think he had one game where he had 3 interceptions. We're losing 3 senior starters in the secondary, all at corner. Bill Jennings, Casey Buchanan, and Matt Scott. So that the next group has to step up. We're going to be very young at corner next year, which is tough. David Sims on the outside, 56 tackles, 13 TFLs. Dustin Carey at free safety, 46 tackles, 3 TFLs. I'm still waiting for him, man. He only has 1 interception in his career. I think he's due. I think he's due for a breakout season. Hopefully that's coming up here in his senior year if he decides to come back. But only having 1 interception for a kid this talented, that's tough. On the defensive line, Brian Charles was a man. 46 tackles, 19 TFLs, 14 sacks. Another graduating player, man. We're losing 3 defensive ends this year. But Brian Charles came off of his red shirt and just exploded onto the scene. I think he probably is going to be a second or third round pick once he goes into the draft. But look at his numbers, man. Very little playing time his first 2 seasons. He took his red shirt and came back as a man. Worked out a lot with Kyle Butler and was able to use what he learned on the field, man. 2 forced fumbles as well. He's going to be missed on that edge. We got Casey Buchanan. He was a JUCO transfer for 3 years, man. Only had 1 interception for his career. Finished the season with 43 tackles, 7 pass breakups. He just has stone hands. Seven pass breakups, man. At least half of those should have been interceptions. Then there's Matt Scott. Listen, I think Matt is a great player. I think he gets bored very easily, man. He had a solid senior campaign, 39 tackles, 5 interceptions, 11 pass breakups. Team shied away from him his senior year, went more towards Bill Jennings' side. I think Matt will probably be a late first, early second round pick. Great traits. The problem was he, just got bored. He was on an island. It was rare that we had safety help over the top. But I think, once he gets into the league and can get into a defense that fits him, he'll be a great player. Bo McGee will be our cornerback number 1 next season. 37 tackles, 3 sacks, 9 TFLs. He also had 3 interceptions in his first season as a player. He's coming off his red shirt and had a solid year. He made a couple mistakes here and there. I think his best play by far was at the end of the LSU game where he picked it off in the back of the end zone. Corey Bentley, another senior graduating on that defensive line, 35 tackles, 15 TFLs, 6 sacks. Dylan Gross, there's our third defensive end graduating, 32 tackles, 15 TFLs, 7 sacks. He's a converted outside linebacker to a defensive end, and I think that was the best move for his career because now he'll be able to get drafted somewhere in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. Ben Bowen, 28 tackles, 8 TFLs, and a sack. I'm looking for him to have a bigger role in the defense next season. Garrett Anderson at D tackle, 20 tackles, 9 TFLs, 6 sacks. Only a sophomore, so next year he'll be the captain of that defensive line. You got Caleb Walker. He had a breakout year, man. 14 tackles, 11 TFLs, 5 sacks. A lot of forced fumbles too, man. 3 forced fumbles. Going into his junior campaign next year, he'll see a lot more playing time. And this kid has a great motor, and his pass rush is elite. I'm hoping that in his junior year we can get those double-digit sacks. Bryson Williams is one of the 3 freshmen at D tackle. He had 7 tackles, 3 TFLs, and a sack. Jermaine Coco, he's having an interesting career. I'm not real sure how we're going to use him next year. I don't know if he's going to be ready to be cornerback number 2. He might be playing more in the slot. He had 7 tackles, a pick, and 2 pass breakups for his junior campaign. I think he's more of a nickel kind of corner, especially being 5'10". We'll have to wait and see. I think for cornerback number 2, we're going to have a competition, man. We know that Bo McGee will probably be cornerback number 1. Those outside corners, man, I like to have those guys that can press a little bit, who are bigger and have better man coverage. His press isn't really that good. It's only a 79. So hopefully, going into the offseason and his offseason workouts, he'll get a little bit better, and we'll be able to get him on the out. We'll be able to get him more playing time in his senior year. James Ramirez, rarely used this year. 6 tackles, 2 TFLs. I think he might have had a pick too, right? Nope, he had a pass breakup. Then you had Jonathan Lamb, senior linebacker, graduating, 6 tackles, 1 TFL. Leon Hesser, another one of those freshman D tackles, 6 tackles and a sack. Trey Jolly, 5 tackles and a TFL. I think we might find a new role for Trey Jolly next season. I was looking at our roster, and he is a pass rush specialist, guys. Look at his finesse move and his power move, and he can block shed. We are looking to add more depth on that defensive line. We're looking for more pass rushers, and he could fit kind of like that Dylan Gross role for us. He's got great speed, 89 speed, 86 acceleration. So moving him to maybe a defensive end position next season would probably be the best move for his career because he won't see any playing time at middle linebacker. Then you got Paul Wilson, another true freshman at D tackle, 4 tackles, 2 TFLs and a sack. Richard Anderson at strong safety, 3 tackles on the year. Trey Morgan, and then you just got all the interception guys. Here's a look at our sack totals, man. I think this year was probably our best sack total of the entire dynasty. The past 4 seasons, we were kind of relying heavy on Kyle Butler and Corey Mark. This year, a little bit more spread out. Brian Charles did have a big year, 14 sacks. Dylan Gross had 7. Then you had Brian Jones with 7. Garrett Anderson at D tackle had 6. So did Corey Bentley. Caleb Walker had 5. Then you had Bo McGee with 3 sacks. David Sims had 2. Then Turner, Wilson, Lester, Williams, Bowen each had 1, man. So a lot of sacks, a lot of production getting after the quarterback. We are losing a lot of senior leadership, though, man. That's crazy to see. But I like the young guys we have coming up, and they're gonna be something special. Here's a look at the interceptions. Bill Jennings, like I said, led the country with 8 interceptions. You had Matt Scott with 5. Bo McGee had 3. Brian Jones with 2. Then you had Nick Ginn, David Sims, Jermaine Coco, and Ben Bowen, each with 1 interception. We forced a lot of fumbles this year. Caleb Walker had 3. Brian Charles with 2. So did Dylan Gross, David Sims, and Brian Jones. And Bo McGee forced 1. All those fumbles, and we only recovered 1. And that was a scoop and score for Nick Ginn. And we had 3 defensive touchdowns, 1 from Sims. Bill Jennings had a pick 6, and Nick Ginn had that scoop and score. Taking a look at the kicking game, Keaton Holt in his junior year was perfect. 8 for 8 on field goals with a long of 51, and he kicked 105 extra points and was perfect. Strong leg kicker. He'll probably take over the kickoff return or the kickoffs next season with Williamson graduating. I want to get Holt more field goal attempts. So instead of going, I think we did a great job this year, not really going for it too much on 4th down. But I would like to see him get into like the 15 to 20 range on field goals going into next year. And, we're not really a punting team, but when we did, Jacob Williamson did a great job, man. 19 kicks for 962 yards. He averaged 51 yards per kick, had a net of 78. His long was 79. I don't even remember that punt. He booted the ball 79 yards, had 8 touchbacks, and 6 of them were inside the 20. Strong leg kicker. He will definitely have a job at the next level. Taking a look at the return stats, Marquise Powers, 57 returns for 1,685 yards and 2 scores. Both of his 2 returns were in 1 game for touchdowns. I think that was the Kansas game. We decided to take the return specialist off of Tariq Larson, and we looked for somebody new to come in and step up into that role. Marquise Powers did a solid job. I think that he's fast, but he's not as fast as Tariq. Tariq is explosive. So I think Powers will hold on to it going into his senior year, but I want to get him more involved in the offense as well. I think that he can be a valuable weapon. He's got great speed on the outside. His acceleration is a bit slower, but he is elusive. So he might see some playing time in his senior year as a running back, but he definitely will see some playing time as a kickoff returner. And one thing I wish we would have done was get Tariq Larson a punt return for a touchdown. He had 34 for 492. He came real close once. But fell like a couple yards shy. Teams really started to key in on him and kick the ball away from him. They would sky the punts. They would kick the punts towards the sideline. They were scared, man. He's an explosive player, like I said before. I don't know if we're going to be able to find a player like him moving forward. So here's a look at the final stats for the NCAA. Gabe Perez just dominated this year, man. He was the only quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards. He was 800 yards ahead of the next guy. That's Bell from Ole Miss. And you have Maxwell from Central Michigan with 3,500 yards. Sullivan from South Alabama, 3,300 yards. And then Jamal Williams from San Diego State, 3,200 yards. On the ground, Philip Fagan finishes with over 1,880 yards. He finished second place to Moore from Arizona. He had 2,138 yards. The Heisman winner, Dean, was third on the list with 1,883 yards. Small with 1,785 yards. And then Walton from Pitt, 1,714 yards. Out wide, Daniels from South Carolina. That kid had a monster year, 1,592 yards. Cooper from South Alabama, 1,455. Morgan from Virginia, 1,402. Williams from Ole Miss, 1,339. And then there's Trey Morgan, our senior, the best wide receiver in the game, 1,235 yards. To the defense side of the ball we go. Tackles leader, Brian Jones, 125 tackles. And you had Nick Ginn with 64. Bill Jennings with 62. And David Sims had 54. Brown from UAB had 49. Sack leader, Brian Charles led the way, 14 sacks on the season. Then you had Baker from Hawaii with 13.5. Ray from UNLV had 10.5. Horn from Arizona had 9.5. And Willis from ULM had 9.5. And in the interception department, Bill Jennings led the way with 8 picks. Williams from Georgia State had 7. Miller from Buffalo had 7 as well. Harvey from Ohio had 6. And Mackey from North Carolina had 6 as well. Time to take a look at the final standings of the season. And for your Bears, the unanimous number 1 team in the country, 14-0. Just a great run. Michigan finishes second, 12-2 on the year. San Diego State was a surprise squad for me, man. They finished 12-1. That kid Jamal Williams really carried them. Penn State finishes 11-2. They were 4th. Tennessee is 5th, 10-3 on the year. Notre Dame finishes 6th. They were 11-2. Texas creeps up into the top 10. They were at 7. They finished 10-3. South Alabama had a great year. They finished 12-1. They were 8th. Auburn fell 5 spots to 9. They finished 12-2. Florida State was 10. They were 11-3. Fresno State fell out of the top 10. They were number 2 in the country, but they took a L, and they fell 9 spots to 11. Then you have Florida in at 12. Alabama 13. They were 10-3 on the year. Washington was 14. TCU finishes 15. Ole Miss is 16. Indiana 17. And you got Mississippi State at 18. Iowa State 19. Oklahoma in at 20. They fell 7 spots. LSU is 21. Arizona is 22. Army finishes 23. UAB creeps into the top 25 at 24. And then you've got Pittsburgh rounding out your top 25. But let's hit the recruiting trail. This class is shaping up to be a really big class for our Black Bears, considering we're losing so much going into season 9. Our first commit this year was Ryan Barnes from North Carolina, 6'2", 196-pound, 3-star punter. This kid has a strong leg. He's more of a power kicker than he is an accurate kicker. I think, once we get him into the system, he'll probably go down as one of the best kickers we've had next to Williamson that's leaving this year. Then we got Ryan Alston from Ohio, the number 5 defensive end, 6'4", 247, a 4-star prospect. This kid could see playing time early next year. Great finesse, great block shedding. I think he's going to be an elite pass rusher for us. Like I said, we're losing 3 defensive end starters this year, man. We know we like to keep our defensive end rotating throughout the game. So losing Brian Charles, Dylan Gross, and Corey Bentley, it's like next man up. We got Caleb Walker, we got Trey, but I want to have at least 3 or 4 defensive ends that can have playing time, and I think Austin could be that guy. We did not have a true backup quarterback this year. I think that Tony Mitchell is not ready at all. If something was to happen to Gabe Perez, Tony Mitchell was not going to be able to step in and do what Gabe Perez does. But I think Ryan Douglas fits the mold. 6'4", 212, 4-star prospect from New Jersey, the number 3 quarterback in this class. This kid is literally Gabe Perez 2.0. Not going to kill you with getting outside the pocket, but 89 throw power and 82 accuracy. I think that's what Gabe's numbers were when he first signed with A&M. Just watch the tape of Ryan throwing the ball. We got a good one here, fellas. We got a good one here. We had 2 outside linebackers. First up is Kevin Manson from right here in Arkansas, 6'2", 210, the number 8 outside linebacker in this class. Not the fastest, not the most agile, but a great tackler, great hit power, gets off of block sheds. He could be a defensive end. He has a little zone coverage. I like the size at 6'2", 210. But if we move him to that defensive line, he's going to have to put on some weight. Another outside linebacker we picked up, James Holmes, 6'1", 222 from Iowa, 3-star prospect, the number 21 in this class. Again, not the fastest, not the most agile, but he can tackle, and he gets off of blocks. We do have a formation. We do have a 3-4 formation, and I think he could come in and play like that outside linebacker pass rush for us. But at the same time, he'll probably get the red shirt. We have David Sims right now and Ben Bowen coming back. So playing time for James Holmes in his first year probably won't happen. I think we're doing a great job recruiting offensive linemen. This is Ron Campbell from West Virginia, 6'4", 325, a 4-star prospect, the number 11 tackle in this class. And again, we're just adding more depth. I think he's more of a right tackle than he is a left tackle. He's a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. Great strength for a true freshman. Could be a redshirt candidate, depending on what our right tackle situation looks like. Colin Dodd does graduate this year, so we could have a competition at right tackle going into spring ball. And to shore up that we get a good quarterback into the system next season, we went out and signed the number 1 QB in this class, Franklin Chance from North Carolina, 6 foot, 209 pounds, kind of on the short side for us, man. 5-star prospect, but this kid is going to be something special. 85 speed, 86 agility, 87 acceleration. Doesn't have that strong of an arm, but he is pinpoint accurate. He reminds me a lot of a Johnny Manziel and Mike Vick type of player. Now, Mike Vick did have a stronger arm, but I'm just talking about like the athleticism. He can break tackles. He's elusive. Great juke move. The spin move is there. My only concern, as soon as he gets hit, is he going to fumble the ball? 44 carrying. He's going to have to either slide or step out of bounds after running with the ball. We took a trip out west and found Brad Wilson from Clearfield, Utah. 4-star prospect, 5'11", 185, the number 27 athlete in this class. A lot of big-name teams were after him this year. 90 speed, 86 agility, 91 acceleration. Great man cover. 87 man coverage, 84 zone, 85 press, 75 catching. He can play corner or wide receiver. I think with that 87 man and that 84 zone, we have to put him at corner. I think we're stacked at wide receiver next season. You'll see why here in a few minutes. But with the 75 catch, I think that's a good look for him. He's a bit shorter for us at 5'11", but I think he can come in and be a monster corner for us. With us losing 4 senior wide receivers to the draft this year, we had to go out and make a big splash. This is Albert Flores from right here in Benton, Arkansas, 6 foot, 189, 5-star prospect, the number 1 receiver in this class. And I honestly think this is Trey Morgan 2.0. Not the fastest, not the most agile, great acceleration, but great hands, great route running, gets off of jams, can catch in traffic, and he has some spec catch. You know, I said before that Donald Thomas was going to be wide receiver number 1. Albert Flowers could make a bid to be wide receiver number 2 as a true freshman. Now, we do have a couple of guys that'll be coming off of their red shirt, but I think Flowers will see some playing time his freshman year. So replacing those 4 wide receivers, we also picked up Kyle Holloway from North Carolina, 5'11", 202, 4-star prospect, the number 17 wide receiver in this class. Great speed, 93 speed, not the most agile, solid acceleration, not that elusive, great catching, great route running, great spec catch and release, and catching traffic. Just another dangerous weapon for whoever's going to play quarterback next season. Again, adding more depth on that defensive line, Jesse Henry from Florida, 3-star prospect, the number 67 defensive end in the class, 6'2", 250. Again, losing 3 guys who got a lot of playing time last year. Henry is more of a power rusher, can get off a block, solid speed, great tackling. I don't know if he's going to see playing time his freshman year, but he could. He might push for it. You know, we like to have options on the offensive line. This is Jay Bracken, a JUCO sophomore from Michigan, 6'6", 285, a 3-star prospect. You know, we could do some shifting around on the offensive line next year. He's got solid strength, and he's like a solid, just in the middle type of tackle, man. Great pass blocker, great run block, and an amazing impact blocker. I don't think he takes over at left tackle, but I think that he could get playing time maybe on the right side. We added a corner in this class. This is Brandon Campbell from Arkansas, 6'1", 179, 3-star prospect. I like the size. Number 75 corner in this class. He's more of a project, honestly. I like the speed, 92. He's agile. He's more of a zone cover than he is a man cover kind of guy. The press needs some work. He is definitely going to be a candidate for the red shirt this next season. And then lastly, we have a couple athletes here. First up, Brandon Bain from New Jersey, 6'2", 225, 4-star prospect, the number 32 athlete in this class. And I think he's a running back. I think you guys agreed with me on that one. 91 speed, 91 agility, 87 acceleration. You know, he can break tackles. He's got great trucking. He's elusive, a nasty stiff arm, great carrying. He is going to be he can return kicks too, which is pretty cool at 6'2", 225. I think he's more of a power back than an elusive back. We are stacked in the running back room next season. So he could be a candidate for the red shirt with Philip Fagan coming back for his senior year. Then there's B.J. Holland from Alaska, 6 foot, 194, 4-star athlete, the number 21 in this class. And, you know, great speed, 93 speed, 79 agility, 84 acceleration, great play rec, great press. But I'm thinking he might be a wide receiver, guys. The man coverage and zone coverage is there. That's cool. But he's got great catching, 74 catching, 73 spec catch, 77 catching traffic, and 80 route running. He can also play quarterback. So this kid is more of a Swiss Army knife, the kind of player that Coach Thomas really likes because he can play all over the field. He might be one of those guys where wherever we need and wherever we have a hole, he can just step in and get playing time there. So it's time to take a look at the top of the board. We have 3 prospects left, starting off with Donnell Swan from Minnesota, 5'9", 176, 4-star prospect, the number 2 strong safety in this class. My concern is that Nick Ginn might declare early. He's got 2 national championships. He's been a 3-year player. You know, he might declare. I think Swan could come in and get some playing time at strong safety. Solid speed, great tackler, not afraid to come down and lay the hat, can press. Only concern is his coverage ability and being 5'9". He's got great jumping. But is he going to be able to cover a tight end for us? Is he going to be able to cover a back out of the backfield? Those are kind of things we have to look for in our strong safety. And then there's Blake Hardy, outside linebacker from South Carolina, 6'5", 242, a 3-star prospect, the number 28 outside linebacker in this class. And my thinking with him is to move him down to the defensive line. 83 speed, 63 agility, 70 acceleration. Great tackler, great hit power, decent play rec. But it's his block shedding traits that have me intrigued. Great power rusher. Finesse move is there. Block shedding still needs some work. If we move him to the defensive line, we'll redshirt him and allow him to work with our defensive line coach and get a lot better. And then a late addition to the board. This is Justin Hill, a JUCO junior from Florida, 5'11", 280, the number 131 defensive tackle in this class. And guys, he's intriguing. We haven't really scouted him too much. He sent us some tape. Coach thought he was going to be a solid player. We'll be able to look at him more in the offseason. But I think with the numbers that we see here, the letters that we see, this guy might be a diamond in the rough. We do have 4 defensive tackles already on the roster right now, 4 or 5 D tackles. Justin Hill could come in and just add more depth. We would definitely put the red shirt on him. That way he can hang out for a couple more seasons. So here's a look at the top classes so far. Michigan still in at number 1 with 18 prospects. We're sitting at 2. Clemson is 3. Then you've got Notre Dame in at 4. Auburn is 5. Texas is 6. Nebraska in at 7. LSU is 8. Penn State is 9. Alabama rounds out your top 10. Then you've got Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Washington in at 13. Georgia is 14. NC State 15. USF, they're doing a great job on the recruiting trail this year. 18 prospects. They're in at 16. Washington State is 17. Iowa is 18. Indiana in at 19. Rutgers is 20. Then you got Cal in at 21. Northwestern is 22. Florida State in at 23. West Virginia is 24. And then Boston College rounds out your top 25. So before we get out of here, man, let's take a look at this roster. Like I said, I think we're going to have some guys that are going to declare early. So let's just get our minds right now. Starting off at quarterback, I think Gabe is probably going to declare, especially since Craig declared early last season. I think Gabe is just going to just follow in his footsteps, which leaves us with a possible quarterback battle going into spring ball with Tony Mitchell and the 2 freshmen. Again, I think Tony is a very athletic quarterback, man. I'm just worried about his throwing ability. He does not have the strongest arm, does not have the most accurate arm. If he has to have one of those spring or off seasons that wows me to help me think that he's ready to step in and be a starting quarterback for us next year. Running back room, like I said, is very crowded. Ira Harris graduates, but we still have Fagan. We have Bryant. We have Marquise Powers. And then Corey Green comes off his red shirt next year. I think Green doesn't see playing time, but I think these 3 guys, Fagan, Bryant, and Powers, these 3 guys will see a lot of playing time, especially Fagan. He might get majority of the carries next year, but look for Anthony Bryant to see some playing time. At wide receiver, we're losing 4 of our top wideouts, led by Trey Morgan. That means Donald Thomas steps into the starting role next year with great speed. Honestly, in my head, Donald Thomas might be a slot wide receiver. At 6'2", 188, when his speed's going to go up, his acceleration is there, great route runner. The hands are pretty solid, and he could jump out the gym. He might move into the slot, which would free up Mike Warren to play on the outside at 6', 205. And then it'd be a battle between Dominic Foreman and Flowers for that wide receiver number 2 spot. I say Foreman because he's got solid speed. He could be that guy that's like a possession type of wide receiver. Great route running. Catching traffic is there. Spec catch is there. He's just not fast. Between him and Flowers on that outside, and then you put Mike Warren on the other side and Thomas in the slot, it might be, just like what we had this past season. At tight end, Ashton Ryan is back for his sophomore year. Then you got Adam Lawson back for his junior campaign. Will Rogers will be back for his senior year. Now the decision needs to be made with Will. Do we keep him at tight end or do we shift him back to wide receiver? I did not mean to do that. The reason I say that is because he's 6'4", 251. He has great speed, 88 speed, 89 acceleration, great hands, great route running. He's just not a blocker. He can get off of the jam as well. Do we look to keep him at tight end, or do we go ahead and just shift him back to wide receiver where he could be in that competition for that number 2 spot at wideout? And then Luke Baker comes off of his red shirt Fast tight end, 89 speed, 91 acceleration, great hands, catching traffic is there, and a solid route runner. Things get very interesting on the offensive line. Will Horn is back for his senior year at left tackle. He's not going anywhere. Charles Stevens, the JUCO junior, comes off of his red shirt. Now, he might shift to the right side. Even though he's a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker, I'm expecting his run block and his impact block to go up this offseason. He could be a candidate for that right tackle position with Colin Dodd graduating. At left guard, Drew White would be back for his junior campaign. He doesn't have to worry about anybody taking his job. That's pretty locked up for him. Up the middle, John Hawkins, back for his junior campaign at center. Probably one of the best centers in the country right now. Interesting move, though, and I'm just throwing this out here. Tyrone McMillan. He'll be a junior. Hasn't seen a lot of playing time, but I think we could possibly move him to guard next year. Move him to right guard. He's a great pass blocker. The run block and the impact block still needs some work, but again, we still have to go through the offseason training. I think he could step in and be that right guard starter next year. And then we also have Brian Smith coming off his red shirt. He could be Hawkins' backup, which would allow McMillan to get some playing time. But we also have Jim Palmer here at right guard. He's a solid blocker as well, man. We've done a great job recruiting offensive linemen. Elite pass blocker, great impact block, run block still needs some work. And then at right tackle, we've got Dodd, who's graduating. Alfred Robinson will be back for his junior year, and he's a run blocker. So I think we have kind of a problem because we have a lot of talent on our offensive line, but we don't have that much playing time. I think Alfred Robinson could step in and get that starting job, but I think he could get pushed by a few players that are coming in looking for playing time. So like I said, we are losing a lot of good defensive linemen, starting off Dylan Gross, Brian Charles, but Caleb Walker, he's ready to play, man. He had 5 sacks this year, and I think he is going to be a wreck. He's going to be a problem on that defensive line for offensive linemen. He's got a great finesse move, great block shedding. Only thing is he's not the fastest, but for some reason he gets after the QB. At right end, we lose Corey Bentley. Trey Turner's going to have to step up. This will be his junior year. Again, great pass rusher, great rushing ability. Now he just gets to show it off. Then we're getting Tommy Washington off of his red shirt. He's got the speed, 80 speed, 89 acceleration. I'm excited to see what this kid can do, especially in spring ball coming up. Defensive tackle, I think we're straight, man. Garrett Anderson back for his junior year. And then the 3 freshmen, Wilson, Hester, and Williams, they all rotate. They all get playing time. And then Sam Hendricks comes off of his red shirt. We're going to have to find a way to get him some playing time. But I know these top 4 guys, they're playmakers, man. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do going into this season. Now, we do have an interesting situation here in the linebacking room. Ben Bowen back for his senior year. I think he's straight at the outside linebacker position. Kyle Wright will be coming off of his red shirt. And for me, Kyle is more of a middle linebacker than he is an outside linebacker. Not the fastest, 82 speed, 84 acceleration, but he is a tackling machine, and he's got great hit power. Not saying that he's going to take over that starting job at middle linebacker, but he could be the next guy up. Talking about the middle linebacker position, Brian Jones graduates. We're thinking about moving Trey Jolly down to the defensive line. He's just too good of a pass rusher to just have him sitting on the bench. Lamb graduates. Then you got Joe Nelson here as a redshirt sophomore. Pretty solid, stats, 83, 88. Not agile at all. He can tackle, gets off of blocks, decent hit power. But what we're thinking is for that middle linebacker position, either moving Chris Johnson inside with the 82 speed, 95 acceleration, 88 tackling, gets off of blocks, great pursuit, solid zone coverage, or David Sims moves inside. Now, if David Sims moves inside, I think that he becomes the greatest middle linebacker that this school has ever seen. He's fast, great acceleration. The only thing is his tackling isn't really there, but he's a playmaker. Great play rec, great pursuit, great zone coverage, can lock up with a tight end, great hit power. I think we do that. I think we move David Sims inside, let Chris Johnson stay outside, and then run Bowen, Sims, and Johnson as our base linebacking core. And we got to find a way to get Phil Anderson on the field as well. 6'3", 213. He'll be back for his senior year, and this kid is fast. Great tackling, great play rec, and he's strong. We got to find a way to, maybe there's a formation where we can sneak him onto the field. In the secondary room, we're losing 3 of our top corners, Matt Scott, Bill Jennings, and Casey Buchanan. That means Bo McGee becomes quarterback number 1, and I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. His acceleration really isn't there, but he's got great speed. He's got great man coverage. His press is solid. I think he will be better outside than he is inside. We've had him playing nickel and dime corner, but I think it's time for him to go ahead and shift to the outside. Then you've got James Ramirez. He's one of the fastest corners on the roster right now, 95 speed. He's a better zone coverage corner, but he's got great press and great play rec as well. Then you've got Jermaine Coco. We talked about it before, 94 speed. The man coverage is there, solid zone coverage, but the press just isn't there. I think he might have to stay as a nickel corner next season. And we've got 2 corners coming off of red shirts. First up is Brian Smith from South Carolina. Great speed, 95 speed, 90 agility, 81 man, 84 zone, 86 press. He could see a lot of playing time next year. I think between him and Ramirez, that's going to be the battle for that number 2 position. And then Corey Forward, he's coming off of his red shirt as well. Still kind of a developmental quarter for us. Great speed. The coverage ability still needs some work, and that press definitely needs some work. Free safety, I think Dustin Carey comes back for his junior year. If not, we have Jonathan Thomas here. He's fast, guys. 95 speed, 95 acceleration, great zone coverage, great play rec. Only thing we lose is the tackling ability. But I think, he can step in. He'll be able to cover a lot of ground, especially with that 95 speed. So we got to be prepared to see if Dustin decides to declare. Same thing for Nick Ginn. I think he might declare as well. We'd be losing a lot if he decides to leave. We got Richard Anderson in place here. He comes in with a 91 speed, 92 man coverage, 86 zone. But again, we're losing a lot of tackling ability. This kid has 99 play rec and 77 hit power. But again, Nick Ginn does a great job coming down into the box and making those tackles and making those big hits. So we're going to be losing a lot if Ginn and Carey decide to declare. But I think we've got a couple guys in the place that can help us out going into next year. Keaton Holt will be back for his senior year, and then we lose Jacob Williamson to graduation. So we could see a lot of guys, decide to declare, which would suck. There would be holes left, especially on that defense, and then at quarterback too. I think that the 2 guys that are coming in, the 2 true freshmen, can push Tony Mitchell for playing time. I'm not sure who I like more or which player would have the lead coming in, because you've got one that can run the ball and you got one that can sling the rock. It's going to be an interesting offseason, guys. Honestly, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to stream the offseason. We are in the process of moving, so it might just be a video of me taking care of everything. But once I get set up down where we're moving, we'll be able to get the streams and everything back up and running. I can't believe we're going into season 9 of this Dynasty. This has been a fun ride, and it's not over with yet. We're going into a calendar year of this Dynasty, man. In September, this will be 1 year. That's insane to think about, man. I appreciate all you guys for showing support. This might be the toughest year since year 1 or 2 of this Dynasty. We could be losing another starting quarterback. A lot of players are leaving because of graduation. Season 9 is going to be a lot of fun, man. If you guys are excited for it, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're brand new. Don't forget to ring that bell, join the Noti Squad. And make sure you guys check out those links down in my description. Follow your boy on Facebook, Twitter, and IG. And come through and join the Discord fam for exclusive content. And we'll talk from the offseason. I should have that up for you guys later this week, man. But I appreciate the support. Love y'all, man. Have a great day. 2 fingers in the air. Peace. Big thank you to all the members of the channel and the Patreons. If you would like to become a member or a Patreon, hit the links down below in my description.